morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Blacksmith Furnace. Your boy Pete.
Man, like Mo, we out here.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
put on the portrait thing. Let me set up reactions.
This
Portrait
guy,
as well.
this guy.
Is it gonna do the thing? No, there
Yeah,
you
there you go.
go. I found that there's like that's gonna do
Rain,
rain,
yeah, yeah,
and then there's just the one thumbs up, and then
yeah.
done now. And then there's this one.
Devil horns for no reason.
I
Why
think that
are
was like
you
six.
demoing? Yeah, there's the
Yes.
thingy, yeah,
There was
for
one where it's
balloons.
balloons, and then
If you
there's
do
two that
both,
is
yeah,
confetti.
yeah. Unnecessary. Okay, that's your macOS Sonoma update. That's what you come to the podcast for.
Hey,
Heavy hitters in the building. Robert couldn't make it. Robert
come on.
is. Should I even say his location?
Nah,
It's not
let's
that
not do that,
important.
man.
Alright, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he couldn't make it for legitimate reasons. However, heavy hitters, we're here, so you're still gonna
Bang,
get
bang.
so much more of an episode than you would
Fam.
if Robert was
The
here.
content is just gonna be rich, dense, theologically
One,
thick.
one for one. Sorry, not
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
I can go first.
Yes, you can go first.
All right. So, full disclosure, you've had a hint as to what's coming
Yeah.
like 2 seconds ago, so not enough to like prepare a written
Yeah, yeah,
response,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at
yeah.
least. So it's a bit of a longer question. I think the idea of transgenderism, the idea of I am a one sex in another body,
Mm-hmm.
is spitting in God's face.
Mm.
It's to say effectively, well, I think the person might not be saying it because the person might not be believing in God.
Yeah.
But I think it's saying to a God that has created you fearfully and wonderfully
Mm.
that they don't know what they're talking about. You know
Yeah.
yourself better than the one that created you, than the one that
Mm-hmm.
has numbered the hairs on your head. And
Yeah.
you are saying you made a mistake. I am not a man, I'm a woman. I'm not a woman, I'm a man. Now,
Oh, I'm either.
I'm neither, yeah. That idea or this concept that I hold can be
Mm.
described as transphobic.
Mm.
My question to you is, where do you draw the line between truth, is it transphobic?
Mm.
But then also, is it true? Tolerance and affirmation,
Mm.
right? Is this
Yeah.
true? And is it truly then transphobic? Or is there, where do you draw the line between tolerance, as in, yeah, anyone can hold their own view, and affirmation, as in, nah, you are right in whatever you hold because
Yeah.
everyone's right, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think biblically, the way that I would kind of maneuver that is the reality of free will and choice. Um, it's it's in every person's right. It's right is not the right word, but disposition to choose what they want to choose. Um, I deeply believe that faith isn't necessarily a choice. It's more of a compulsion. Like you're being compelled. The Holy Spirit compels us, leading us, and you can resist that. There is a resistance there, or freedom to resist that, but you can't deny that conviction, that compulsion. And so when you receive faith, faith is of some translations say faithfulness, but faith is a gift of the Holy Spirit. And once you receive faith, there is that sense of being compelled. We've said a couple of times, like if if you don't know Jesus, you've got bigger problems. Like there's bigger stuff that for you to worry about rather than any individual particular sin. I think where I draw the line is, um firstly, it's within your God-given right to deny him. You will have to suffer the consequences for that, unfortunately. Well, depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, you will have to suffer the consequences for that.
Yeah.
Um and if you are denying God, my love for God and my love for you as I love myself compels me to want to be like, yo, actually, you don't want to do that. But within that, I still need to be mindful of the free will that God has given you. So I can kind of share my truth, but be mindful of that. No, like God has given you free will to do what you want to do. I don't want to preach a work-based righteousness. I don't want to preach something that just conform to this and then you're good. Almost every other faith presents one of those, like a notion along those lines. And so the way that I see it is almost not living my life in a way that affirms your transgenderism, but living my life in a way that affirms your humanity. And in affirming your humanity, it affirms the reality that you have free will. I may not agree with it, but I will respect your free will. In the same way that you may not agree with my free will and what I choose to do, but I would hope that you would extend the same courtesy and respect it. I'm gonna go church on Sunday. Cool. Whatever connotations you may have with those, that's down to you. But I don't expect you to deny my humanity because of my faith. In the same way, I would extend you the same courtesy of not denying your humanity because you choose to identify as they, them, he, she, it, whatever. I may think it's nonsense, but I won't deny your humanity. Because I love you, I will want the best for you. And in my belief, the best is for you to know your savior. Now that transcends your gender. It's a much bigger thing than any one particular sin. It kind of absorbs all of it into one. And so for me, it takes the conversation in the direction of affirming your humanity and recognizing that you are a set of experiences that for the most part I have a minute understanding of. I don't know where that came from, like what set of experiences kind of led you down that path. And also I believe that for the most part, those who believe in transgenderism or adhere to this gender fluidity don't particularly adhere to an intelligent designer or being fearfully and wonderfully made. They don't adhere to Imago Dei, being made in the image of God. And so they are interacting with themselves essentially as a set of atoms and cells and like, which is no real existence. Arguably, to kind of see yourself as just existing as a result of sperm cells and eggs and blah blah blah. And so if you don't even adhere to intelligent design, why would you adhere to there is a intentionality behind how you were made? And so that fundamental concept that we would hold, and like this conversation is even happening within the church. Like I know people within the church who are now she, who is now a he, or calling themselves them, and they grew up with the understanding that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. but still feeling as though no, I'm this or that. And for some of them, it could just be social norms.
mm,
They don't want to conform to social norms.
mm,
Um, the stereotypical role of a woman, stereotypical role of a man, and because I don't fit the stereotypical role, I'm almost seen as less than. So I'm going to reframe that less than image and make it something else. So yeah, there's a whole host of different reasons why people do this. Um, yeah, so I approach it by affirming humanity
mm,
and living consistently in a way that reflects my belief, praying that not only through word but also through deed they may see something of the Lord that I serve.
mm.
Because yeah,
So
it's the Holy
if I could
Spirit that
ask if I could
yeah.
ask a follow up, just because I think I presented three things. I think your answer really addresses two. So
Okay.
the affirmation and the tolerance
Hmm.
aspect of things, where there is a tolerance of our God given right to spit in God's face, as it were, but then an affirmation not of an action or a sin, but rather of your humanity.
Yeah.
In as much as you might not see yourself as the image of God, you know that they're the image of God, and you focus on that, which I think that's, I think that's admirable. And I can attest to seeing that in your life. Like you guys, yourself, your wife, really speak to people's humanity and accommodate people's humanity, which I think is again a beautiful thing. The part I want to sort of follow up on is the truth aspect.
Hmm.
Is the view that you know, the idea of transgenderism is spitting in God's face, is that transphobic? And
Hmm.
is that then, if it is transphobic, it's so is it transphobic? And two, is it true? And if those two things coexist, how do you sort of negotiate that?
Yeah. Just okay. So transphobic,
Mm,
the definition I just looked at, I just Googled it. The Oxford language definition is having or showing a dislike of or strong prejudice against transgender people.
mm,
Bullying is commonly, and the example they gave is bullying is commonly underpinned by sexist, transphobic, and homophobic and transphobic attitudes.
mm,
Um, I wouldn't say it's transphobic in the way they've described it here, um, because it's against the people.
mm,
Um, I think you can disagree with the ideology while still affirming a person's humanity.
oh yeah, mm,
Um, Christians may say, hate the sin but love the sinner. I'm not quite presenting that. Um, I'm not quite presenting that, and I think the distinction that I make is um, within. Okay, if it's within faith, I do think the Bible calls us to call a spade a spade.
mm,
Like we're not trying to mince words, and so if you are in faith and your sexuality isn't like you're gender fluid and stuff, I think again my approach would be um not it's interesting because it's I think my approach would be more pastoral
mm,
and discipleship rather than just presenting truth.
mm,
Um, if we are having an intellectual conversation, then I don't see the point in. I'll just be like, yeah, I don't believe that you can be gender fluid. It's like I'm made in the image of God, intentionally,
mm,
fearfully, and wonderfully made. And for me, that would be the end of the conversation. Like,
mm,
I'm not looking to go down any whatever. Um, but yeah, people outside of the faith,
yeah.
I don't. I almost hold them to a different standard. than to those within the faith.
Yeah.
If you're outside of the faith, my dislike or disdain or however, like having or showing dislike, it's not a dislike. I feel that ideology is erroneous.
Mm.
It's going against how I believe God created us. So I feel the ideology behind it is wrong.
Mm.
But you adhering to it, I will affirm your humanity to adhere to it if you want to. But if you're in faith, then we can have a wider conversation around. And I think it wouldn't even be a conversation. It would more so just be just walking with you, walking through scriptures with you, and praying that the Holy Spirit does his thing.
Mm.
It may be through my conversations with you. It may be through you seeing me. If it is due to trauma, then it may be you seeing me being a loving husband to my wife, loving father to my children, like hopefully a decent Christian man. Seeing these wholesome interactions, hopefully, even as we go through scripture. But I think the work of transformation is the Holy Spirit, there would have to be a reason for me to confront it.
Mm.
There would have to be a reason for me to confront it. Some people, there's a
Can I give you a reason?
Yeah. Give me a
So
scenario or a reason.
Christian, rainbow Christians. Now you're getting vicars and stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
progressive Christianity.
yeah,
So literally not against like a person who they don't believe, as you said. I'm just a cacophony of atoms and molecules, but
yeah,
against someone who claims to believe in the Bible.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Anyone, like, it's so wild how as Christians we can twist the Bible to say anything we want it to say.
yeah,
It's so wild. And I know there's been the Sparkle Creed.
yeah.
There's been a pastor
Sparkle
that's like,
translation.
even Queen, is it Queen James? Queen
Yeah,
James
so
translation?
something disgusting like that. Yeah,
A pastor that's saying Jesus Christ was God in drag.
yeah, yeah.
Like these wild statements. And they try to make it, they try to ground it theologically, and it's lacking. My argument is like, with that, my argument really is, bro, the KKK used the Bible to
Mm,
kill people,
mm.
and they presented white Jesus. Like they
The
preached white.
Puritans, the Crusades.
They
Buy me a
and so
jet. I'm not gonna call names.
so it's, people can twist the Bible to say whatever they want to say, and unfortunately, that's how cults run.
Hmm.
And cults, even in the 21st century, are alive and kicking. They're thriving,
Hmm.
which is really unfortunate. Um, and so yeah, it's, unless the person is genuinely seeking truth, it will just be an intellectual, theological conversation,
Hmm.
with the person thinking, nah, I'm right, you're closed-minded, blah blah blah, this and that. So yeah, but I would be willing to have the conversation. That's the interesting thing, that through years of just theological discussions and studies, I've gotten to the point where I am genuinely intrigued by different perspectives,
Hmm.
and I'm like, cool, like let's talk. If I want you to take my perspective seriously, I need to take yours seriously. I need to extend the same courtesy to you. And so let's have open, honest dialogue. Um, we can agree to disagree. We can do whatever, but I am always willing and open. And I think, yeah, and unfortunately, people have agendas. I don't think I've answered the question.
Well, you've spoken to it because I think again, congruent with your nature, it's more yeah. We can have the question. We can have the conversation. And I almost see why you not. I don't think you're intentionally not wanting to take a hard line. I think it's just not how you think about it per se. Yeah, and it's more or less let's
Yeah,
have the
I am
conversation.
very much, yeah, I am very much like, so I recognize that that's not my sin.
Mm.
My sin may be something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done sins where, so nah, let me not go into, I have done sins. I was about to get real, but I was just like, yo, I have done sins where people have come down really hard and it's had the opposite effect of what I think they wanted to have.
Mm.
But when I've had people just walk with me, things have just dropped off.
Mm. Okay.
Um, Now, for some people, the rod and the staff, they need both. Like they need to be
Mm.
whipped. Like they need those things. Um, for some people, they just need the shepherd to kind of be with them. And there's a place for both. There's a place
Yeah.
for the rod and the staff.
Mm.
There's a place for discipline and correction. Like there's space for both of those in every believer's life.
Mm.
Even as Paul says, like if God doesn't discipline you, then you're an illegitimate child. So there's space for all of it. Um, but yeah, it's recognizing that this may be where you're tripping up.
Mm.
I may be tripping up somewhere else. And it's yeah, just trying to walk in a way where there is grace. Because even who was it? Jay Givens,
Mm.
when he came out as being gay, he was proper like, oh yeah, all of you man going at me hard because I've come out as gay. When I made all of that music, I was still gay, but
Mm.
you lot were rocking with it. I
Mm.
see your face, bro. All
Mm.
of you
Yeah.
that were rocking with it.
Mm.
But as soon as I say I'm gay, you men are trying to cancel me.
Mm.
These times you lot are hiding behind your incognito browsers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double standards.
I I don't know if it's double standard, so I hear you, and I think where we differ is I appreciate that might be your sin and it's not my sin. The difference is my sin, we all recognize this sin, and you're trying to tell me yours isn't,
Mm,
and I
yeah,
can't. I can't.
that, yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
I again I'm nowhere near as pastoral as you guys are. I appreciate sometimes just like spitting truth at you might not even be effective. At which point, what's the point?
yeah,
You know, if it's
yeah,
not to point you to Christ, then at some point we're just battling. I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, sort of thing. It's like then there's
yeah,
no point to it. Then it's a battle of egos. However,
yeah,
I think my frustration ends up being with, well, let's not redefine truth. Let's not redefine
yeah.
right
I
and wrong.
think to add quickly to add to that, I think I've done it many times on the podcast. I have no qualms saying homosexuality, transphobia, it isn't in line with what God created us, how God created us to live.
Mm,
I have no qualms in saying that. And so even in like a Christian context, I have no qualms saying, yo, like, I don't believe this is of God. I've gone through the scriptures, like, and I don't see that this is of God. So that for me, there is that line where it's like, this is truth. Um, Now, how we get to where we get to the point of living out that truth, I recognize is a lot isn't as straightforward.
mm, mm,
But I won't budge from within a Christian context, even outside of a Christian context, just in general, I won't budge from the line of this isn't how God created it.
mm. Yeah.
You've got free will. You can float, you can do whatever.
Mm,
You could do whatever you want, but you're straying from the line.
mm,
And again, all have sinned and fallen short of his glory. Like this is your display of that. There may be other things as well in there, but yeah, I'll be like, but rightly as you said, if it's you're struggling with stealing, we all know stealing's bad. Struggling with murder, like what we all know that that's bad.
yeah. Yeah. Even the Jay Given stuff, like the reason it is incognito is because they know it's wrong. Like, you want to come out and say, yeah, you're gay. Like, yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I can't listen to the stuff that you did before because you were occasionally gay at the time. Sorry. The content was correct, yeah.
The content,
But
yeah.
now you're trying to tell me that, yeah, it's okay because you were dealing with gay then. Nah, sorry. Nah. I can't listen to Jay Givens anymore. John Gibbs, I think John Gibbs actually I can listen to because he's just like moved away from the Christian hip hop thing. I don't know if he's
Mm,
denied God or denied Christ. It doesn't sound like he has. He just doesn't want to be a pastor. Fine,
yeah.
do that. What Jay Givens I can't listen to. We all know Jahaziel makes me feel sick now. So yeah,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. I mean, I still rock with Jay Givens.
yeah.
John Gibbs now, I can't vibes with him because I listen to his music, and it's not because I listen to his music, and I should have seen it in his original pieces of work whilst he was under CHH,
Mm,
because he like it wasn't as, yeah, it wasn't clean cut, should I say.
mm,
But now, like, I'm hearing the N word, this and that, and I'm just like, rah.
yeah. I mean,
So
I
for me,
guess
that shift,
yeah. I'm also not being completely honest because there's one song of John Gibbs that I've heard afterwards. Like I haven't really chased it after his music anymore. So saying that I
yeah,
vibe with it is not entirely true because I've only heard one song within which I thought was a nice two stepping. Which is
yeah,
a
I think I
nice
heard that one.
vibe. It's not
Yeah,
as hard, but anyway, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you
cool.
happy with it?
Very, very, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.
This episode might just be sorry not sorry's,
I
boy. We're
know,
already
right? We're already like
half an hour
halfway
in.
through.
So my question for you, um, again, full disclosure, teased it out slightly. Um, what there's a lot of like churches, a bunch of imperfect people. There's
Mm,
bound to be tensions. There's bound to be hard conversations and stuff. Not necessarily in terms of sins, but ideologies and theologies and stuff. As how or what parameters do you believe that leaders of churches should have in place in addressing issues of confrontation or tension between
mm,
the congregation around ideologies and perspectives?
mm. Um, so I have to answer this from experience,
Hmm.
because I am part of church leadership at our church, his house.
I was trying to avoid saying that, but
No,
yeah,
no,
you
no,
dropped
yeah,
it.
no, because I have to be because I think it's a question that calls for transparency,
Hmm.
um, and so I can only speak from experience and say I think so maybe on a higher level, not on a higher level, but maybe on a more generic level,
Hmm.
where anything can affect someone's faith, where anything can
Hmm.
affect someone's standing. I think it needs to be addressed by from the top. So, Paul, um, uh, Paul telling off Peter.
Confront, put, yeah,
Yeah,
Peter, yeah.
yeah. Confront is the word I was looking for. I couldn't find the word. Paul confronting Peter wasn't necessarily because that was the first time that they had disagreed on anything, but it
Hmm.
was because it was affecting others. It was
Yeah.
affecting some of the people that were seeing what Peter was doing, and Paul had to address it. And I think for me, that would be the standard. Is this is this challenge, is this confrontation potentially going to result in someone potentially going to result in even the enemy having an opportunity to say something to someone, not
Hmm.
say to have a foothold, to introduce doubts, to introduce anything, and it's like, yeah, then I think leadership should come in. Now that
Hmm.
said, coming back to sort of closer to home, um, do I say stuff? Admittedly, not enough. I don't come in enough as one of the leaders. In part because I when I have done it a couple of times, it hasn't gone.
Fair, fair.
I've jumped in thinking, oh nah, like it's too mature Christians. They know me to some extent. They will hear what I'm saying and hear my heart. Um, and then you get reminded that apparently people don't think you have a heart. Again, full disclosure,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did legitimately describes Mo as a version of Peter with emotions. Like,
And you know what? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a compliment or not because it's
no,
like,
it is
am
a
I not meant
compliment.
to have?
No, because he says I am. He says I am Chat GPT's older brother, like the older version, and Chat GPT is just more advanced, and I have no emotions. I'm more logic. I'm like, fine, fair. So I know I'm aware that where I've thought I have, I've thought I come in with something reasonable, something
Mm,
sensible in my either my delivery and my presumption that people can just look at this logically, can just hear what I'm saying.
mm,
I've caused hurt, and so it does make me not reluctant but hesitant to jump in at everything, and I
mm,
end up doing, I guess maybe what as a nursery rhyme thing that maybe I take too far is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
mm,
Um, which is not always good. Admittedly, it's not always good. It's the same in my marriage. If something's bothering me, I would look inwards first,
mm,
and then if I can't find a way to reconcile it in my head, then I reconcile it as, well, I can't change other people. I can only change myself, and so I
mm.
adapt. I Instead of just sometimes just saying it, just
Yeah,
coming out and saying it, knowing that I don't want to cause more pain, and in the past
mm,
I have had that effect, and so
yeah,
I end up being more thingy. So I think where I think leadership should come in is where it causes others to, or could cause others to stumble. I know I need to do that more, and I need to pray into it, and I need to grow. And the mark of a wise man is being able to communicate a thing effectively, regardless of whether or not that thing is nice or easy to hear. And I think
mm,
I need to grow in wisdom in being able to communicate things that I disagree with, or communicate things in general, in a way that is better than just
mm.
coming in, dropping bombs, and then leaving thinking I'm doing a good job, and people are like calling other leaders crying like, "Oh, I feel the devil is using Peter." I was like, "What?" Yeah, I feel
Bro,
like
has it
the,
actually
the
been said?
enemy, bro. It's like, oh yeah, no, and the enemy. Well, not the devil was using Peter, but it was like what Peter said really was I felt attacked, and the enemy was attacking me, and it's like, mm, and it's easy to go, well, this and this and this is what I said. Is it right or
Yeah.
wrong? And it's like, yeah, no, it's not wrong, but you've got to know the way you said it and this and that. And I'm like, you know, nobody got time for
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah. I
it's two
guess,
pronged. I
your,
think.
sorry, just to
No,
jump in,
go
I
on.
guess
Yeah,
your approach is almost surgical,
yeah,
where it's like you're trying to make a clean incision.
yeah.
And a
For
clean
better or
incision,
worse, and more
yeah,
often than not, it's not enough. But yeah,
yeah. You haven't applied enough anesthetic.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
you're about to say, bro.
Yeah, no, I just think it's two pronged. I think for me the measure is is this something that could cause someone to stumble. And so when I've jumped into stuff, it has been because now someone could see this, and the enemy could like use this as an avenue to then create doubt or to attack or to
Mm,
whatever. Therefore, I need to say something, and that's been in the past where I've really felt like I need to say something. But otherwise, whether it's because past failings, whether it's because I some and also like in all fairness, sometimes I'm just not following along like close enough,
mm,
especially with
yeah,
like social media and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
WhatsApp.
yeah.
we're in like signal groups together, and you'd be like, yeah, Peter is dead for like 2 months because it just gets overwhelming. Because I
Yeah.
also go in and I have to read from the top.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
reading from
Yeah.
the top, forming opinions, and I'm realizing the conversation's moved on. And then it's like, well, I need to try and hurry up and catch up. And it's like, well, I can't,
Yeah.
there's no time. Like, okay, cool.
I
Then
give up.
we're just not gonna say anything.
I open conversations and just start from the bottom.
So yeah, there's growth on my part that needs to happen, and that I'm praying into, and that I need to work on really. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, I think for me that the red flag, the thing that says jump in, is if the enemy is going to have an opportunity to do anything with anything that's been said.
mm.
At that point,
Can
then
you
yeah,
can you give an example, a hypothetical example?
YouTube comments. So someone says something on YouTube, right? And I think this thing that's been said could be an avenue for the enemy to insert doubt in someone's mind. Like,
Mm,
because, and I say YouTube comments because you sometimes the show is in the comments, and you go into the comments and stuff. And I was like, if I was a leader here, I'd dump into this YouTube comment because of this thing this person said about this person that
mm.
was on screen, right?
Yeah.
Because that could be an avenue that the enemy could do,
Yeah.
like saying something like, "Oh, I don't like the fact that this preacher is wearing this jacket, and I feel like he's just a thief, or whatever."
Yeah. Or he's got a
You know,
Gucci jacket on. What preacher has a
yeah,
Gucci
yeah,
jacket on? Yeah.
and especially in like a church like ours where it's not always the head pastor, because we don't really have a head pastor that's preaching,
Yeah.
and this is like one of the members come forward, taking the toll of preparing something, standing in front of the thing, and you're gonna come and comment on their jacket for no reason.
Yeah.
Like then I feel like we should jump in, and then again, I guess consistent with my lack of emotions, I don't care if it hurts you, because you're coming for you're coming for
Yeah.
someone in the church,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's sort of one example. Uh, you
Mm.
know,
So would you say then that your jumping in is more defensive?
yes, yeah, and also I guess that's why sometimes I feel it's not it's not as immediate, because I'm looking, and I again could be wrong, can have been wrong in this. I'm looking at it like, oh, this conflict is between two people that know their stuff. Like they're fine. They don't
Mm,
need defending, if that makes sense. Which could be wrong, which has been wrong in the past. And so that's also because it is defensive. Sometimes you think, nah, this person's strong. Like they don't need defending in this area, and then I don't jump
mm,
in. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. But yeah, yeah. Again, yeah. I do recognize that there's growth needed, especially on my part there.
mm. That's interesting. And it's interesting, I guess, as a teacher or someone who primarily operates within teaching, the scripture comes to mind: "Be ready to defend your faith at any given moment in time,"
Mm,
and that's almost what it seems as though you're defending the faith,
mm.
whether it's the faith of someone or the faith in general. Um,
I
whereas,
guess I could also add, there's a
mm,
recognition that I don't know a lot, and so
mm,
there's like, yeah, these guys are talking about stuff I don't know yet. Let me go
yeah,
ahead and set something before
research and the
I go
combat,
in and
yeah,
put my face out there.
yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah,
there's also that
yeah.
which again, yeah.
Because I'm almost wondering as well if it was like a pastoral lead,
Hmm.
they may have a more pastoral interjection
Mm,
in that, okay, there's conflict between two people, how can I make sure that that the relationship remains okay?
mm.
Whereas yours, like, but is he saying the truth?
I don't care about the relationship. This is the problem. Sometimes I don't care.
And I
Fine,
guess
don't talk to me again. It's cool.
at least I spoke the truth. Truth hurts sometimes. And I guess
Exactly.
this is the benefit of having like the fivefold leadership,
Yeah.
where different people can kind of pitch in at different times. um and I guess you might not be best placed to provide parameters for other leads in terms of whether it's pastoral or apostolic or teach or whatever it may be. We may need those who operate within those giftings predominantly to kind of give what they think good parameters would be. So yours is very much like defend the faith.
Mm.
Is this truth?
Yeah.
If it is, then arguably you need to swallow your pride, um, and
Yeah.
just accept it.
Which,
And
after
I
six
do
years of
think
marriage, I know does not work. But
it's a really healthy challenge, though. It's a really healthy challenge, but it
yeah,
doesn't always work.
no.
Because yeah, people aren't just a bunch of truths.
But
There's
how
so
much
much
simpler would
nuance
it
and
be
stuff.
if it was?
I mean, yeah, life would be interesting if it was just if we were clean cut like that.
I think it's
Um,
simple. It's like, well, what you said hurt me, but was it true? Yes.
it
All right
was,
then.
and I think I want to throw in something in a mix. Let's flip it. So you're in the congregation.
Mm.
Um, what would you hope the leadership would do? It may be the same. It may be the same, like just make sure that people are telling the truth. But yeah, if you were in a congregation, what would you hope leadership would do in terms of stepping into predominantly internal conflicts?
Mm. I think, yeah, it is the same. It is the same. And I think from the congregation, again, I'm speaking from experience here. I despise favoritism. I
Mm,
despise when there is the head apostle's child, and so all of a sudden he gets, people will jump in sooner when it's him, but then the CFM, common floor member, no one really cares. I despise that because
yeah.
that goes back to my childhood of hating bullies, like
Mm,
hating someone that bullies someone else just
yeah.
because, and that's what got me kicked into Ghana because my dad was like, "You're getting into too many fights." My point was, I'm getting into fights with bullies. They deserve it. He's like, "Nah, you're gonna get yourself stabbed or put you in
Yeah, yeah,
prison."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's where I think, yeah, I'd want the leadership to defend truth, um, to sort of be more concerned. Again, my bias, but I would want my leadership to be more concerned with: is this right? Is this wrong? Is this true or not?
Mm.
Um, but what I can say I despise is whether that sort of attitude is not given to all, and it's just
So
for.
you'd want a consistency.
I'd want consistency and not the
Yeah.
important ones. And someone said something to the pastor's daughter, so we're going in on that. But it's like, yeah, well, that person also said something to this person, and no one cares. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Where's the fairness there?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for me.
Okay. So that's good. That's really good because it seems like consistency and a defense of the truth um from a and I guess that's what you were saying as a leader you're having to pray about is consistency in the way that you do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah, I like that. It'll be interesting to if there's any listeners who are like what would you like to see in terms of leadership stepping in? I know that there may be some who's like, no, leaders don't step in it. Just let us man handle our thing.
First, fight
If
to the
if
death.
we like that, if we think we need you, we'll come to you. Just
Mm,
don't try to, because sometimes that comes with a level of oversight that people may think is intrusive.
fair. Yeah, true. True.
So they might be like, nah, just let us do our thing. You don't need to know everything that's happening. But in a setting like ours where there's a WhatsApp group for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if there's something happening in a WhatsApp group, the likelihood is at least one leader is going to see it.
Mm,
Um, yeah. What impact do you think it has on the congregation if they don't see leadership stepping into things?
So I very much tend to think of it as a which is worse, right?
Mm,
Leaders step in and they step in it. Like I said, in my experience, I jump in thinking, you know me, you might understand me, and I end up hurting you.
yeah.
Is that better or worse than I don't step in at all? Right.
Mm,
And for me, and again, I might be wrong in this, and I'm happy for you to challenge it. I'm happy to hear wisdom on this. I think silence is the lesser evil. I haven't said anything.
mm,
I haven't jumped in, and like we're sort of working things out, or people working things out, and it's
yeah.
cool. Then I've jumped in and I've been wrong.
Yeah.
I almost think that's worse
Mm,
than the other one. And maybe that's just me being
yeah.
overly cautious. That's an insecurity. I
Probably.
don't know any of these things, but yeah.
Yeah. I do get the wisdom in that, because you would hope that your leaders would have more of an idea, will be more clued up.
Mm,
There is space for your leadership to show um, their humanity, because
yeah.
sometimes you can almost think leaders are this like mountaintop type figures who have got
Mm,
everything, who have studied to the nth degree and blah blah blah. I'm also one. I'm also. Um, I think one thing that worries me with silence from leadership is the question of, are they okay with this?
mm,
Um, so yeah, it's the question of, so they may be, especially if it's like ideologies or perspectives and
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
um, and no one chimes in. There's the question of, oh, raw, are they okay with this?
Mm,
If
mm,
they are, that might be a red flag.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
that's
I
one
think,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, almost immediately, I think growth could be, especially on my part, to say, yeah, we see this. This doesn't quite sit right, but let me check something first, and then come
Mm,
with a response. So it's an acknowledgement of, now whatever's going on here isn't just we're cool with it, but then it's also an acknowledgement of maybe I don't know enough right now to come
yeah.
and
Yeah.
jump in. So I
Yeah.
like immediately I think, okay, that could be something I could take on board to do, because you don't want your silence to almost be confirmation of something or
Yeah.
affirmation of something as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
Yeah. Um, Remind me after we press stop to say
Yeah,
something.
fair dues, fair dues. Cool. Well, I had a very brief question. Sorry,
Cool.
it's sorry, not sorry. Cool. Are you
Yeah,
happy?
yeah,
Are you
yeah,
happy
yeah.
with the
We're good.
answer?
I
Yeah.
mean, I dug into that in like five different ways. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
I don't necessarily have a topic for us to discuss. I wanted to ask your opinion on something,
Mm,
which was in the next 8 minutes or so that we've got, 12 minutes or so that we've got. Journaling. I know it's something
yes.
you've done quite a lot. It's something that I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out a way to get into. Um, what would you say are, your someone comes to you, ask you, should they journal?
Yeah.
Presumably your answer will be yes. Question
Yeah.
is why?
Why? I mean, if you the the briefest amount of research you can do for mental well-being habits
Mm,
will bring up journaling.
mm,
Mindfulness and journaling are almost like the first two things that are on every list.
mm,
Um, it's for individuals. We take in a lot of information
mm,
on a regular basis, whether we intend to or not, whether you're a reader or researcher, whatever it is, we take in a lot of information. And sometimes holding all of that information in our heads does more harm than good.
mm,
Um, but being able to get everything out of our head, or most things out of our heads, actually frees up a lot more mental capacity.
mm,
Um, and there's a saying, I'd rather have a short pencil than a long memory.
mm.
So it's like I'd rather, and this
Yeah.
this is almost to do like with to-do lists and stuff like that, to be
Mm,
able to write things down and I can tick them off rather than trying to remember everything.
mm,
Um, you'll be surprised as to how behavioral patterns can become more apparent once you start writing things down. where you realize that, oh, like this happened today, that happened yesterday, that happened the day before. Like, I drank 2 liters of water right before it happened each time. Okay, this may be a trigger. Like, things become a lot more apparent. Um, you're able to process things a lot more, because if something is on your mind and you're kind of stewing over it in your head, there's only so much you can do with it. But once you write it down, you can kind of push it in so many different ways. I do it for so many different things. I sometimes do it meditatively. So if there's a scripture that I really want to meditate on, I just journal about it, journal my thoughts around it, stuff like that. Do like start readings around and just write them down. If there's an idea that I kind of want to work on, again, I'll daydream sometimes, but I find that putting pen to paper works so much more. And not even typing, but actually just like writing, using my hands and like writing it out. Um, so yeah,
What
there's
do you do about security?
so what I do is so firstly, I am in a fortunate position where I know no one's gonna read my stuff,
How do you know?
because like my stuff has been out and
Mm,
Mrs. ain't read it. Like I would
mm.
have to give it to her to read it. But my kids are now getting to a point where they may be able to read it, and they may be feeling like, "Oh, raw, Dad, I didn't know that." Um, but what I do is I journal on my iPad,
Right.
and on my iPad I've only synced my iPad to my laptop and my phone.
Mm,
So I've got tertiary iPads that I haven't synced my notes to, and I only let my kids use those iPads.
mm,
So I've got on my laptop, and all of them fingerprint, blah blah blah.
mm,
So if you're gonna go into it, I know that you're going into it. Um, so yeah, most of it is synced on the cloud, which also means I have access to it wherever I am.
mm,
So if there's things that I need, particularly on the ideation front, if there's things that I need, I can kind of access it whether I have my iPad or not. Um, and also, what I do is because I journal so frequently, there's just pages and pages of journals, so many different entries. So if you're trying to read through my journal entries, it's going to take you a while.
mm,
Hopefully, I will catch you before you can get to anything. but, but I think um, my handwriting is hard to read as well.
mm.
Once you get used to it, you get used to it, but it's not as fluid on the iPad as it is on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Just by virtue of the medium, it isn't as fluid. So yeah, it may take you a while to kind of get through it. But I think and plus I am at a place where if you read it, so what?
Fair.
Like I see it as a brain dump.
Yeah.
So once I'm done with it, I'm done with it.
Mm,
I don't reread my journals. I don't really do anything. I may notice patterns, but as I'm writing, I'll notice the patterns. I don't go through it. I do see it as a brain dump, and I try to go through things, and not intentionally, but I go through things that I wouldn't mind telling somebody else.
okay.
Um, so yeah, as I said, there are different reasons why I do things. Sometimes my journals are like prayers, so I'm kind of talking to God and stuff. Um, but yeah, again, I wouldn't mind praying these things out loud. Yeah, so I think for me that there is this almost like self-abandonment in the way that I approach journaling. And I actually have had a time when I was much younger. I was in like year 8 or 9. I was going through a really low time, and I journaled, and I'd had it in like a the old school diaries with like the note with that number sections at the back. It was like a bank diary.
Okay.
So I journaled in it, and I came home from school one day to realize that my sister had read through my diary,
Mm.
and she had written a response to me in my diary.
Mad.
Like the response was really affirming,
Mm.
but I felt that betrayal,
mm, mm,
and I stopped journaling from there.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but when I had my like depressions episodes and stuff, I real not even prior to that, when I was studying counseling, I realized how beneficial
mm,
journaling was.
mm.
And thankfully, me realizing how beneficial it was overrode that previous reason I stopped doing
Yeah.
it. Um,
It's very funny because I had a exact, well, not exact same experience, but this was, I want to say maybe I was 10 or something, and I journaled in my notebook, and this was the Ghanaian, the Ghanaian notebooks thing.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
journaled, and in class, one of my classmates, a girl, had found the journal, read the journal, taken the journal to the teacher, and referenced the teacher in it, and I got in trouble. And I think, yeah,
Oh,
from then on, it's like I mean all the things you mentioned about journaling, yeah, because I researched it and I've researched, and it's like, yeah, it all comes down to, this could be a really powerful tool,
mm.
but what if someone finds it? And it's like the stuff in my head, I'm like, yeah, so what's fine.
Bro,
So I'm
then
just
do,
trying to
do you know
figure it
what?
out.
You can run an Attack on Titan type thing where you've got a drawer with your journals in it, but then you put like
For
a
like
like
a
a board on top
secret,
of it.
yeah,
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 secret compartment. So no one actually some 007 type thing.
yeah.
So yeah, you could do that. You could have like your journals in lock under lock and key.
Yeah, I have thought about like using code and stuff, but it just feels like it adds friction to the process, and I'm
Yeah,
trying to find a
yeah.
way to make it, as easy as possible to journal, because I do think there's benefits to it. But yeah.
So a practical thing that I do is where I keep my physical journals, you actually have to look for it.
Mm,
So like
mm,
I know where they are, so I can literally just reach in and grab it.
mm.
But I've stacked it in a way where, and I've pushed it literally in one of my cupboards all the way at the back, and there's books in
But
front of
don't
it.
give it all away.
I mean, I said one of my cupboards. I've got a couple of them.
Mm,
I've stacked loads of things in front of it, and all of them just look like art supplies.
yeah, fair.
So unless you're legitimately going for my notebook,
Mm.
and in which case I'll be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Um, you won't know where it is. So again, I know that you are quite meticulous in a way that you kind of organize things. So you can kind of hide things in a conspicuous way, um, to kind of add to that level of safety.
Yeah.
And plus, bro, IKEA, get a lockable drawer.
Oh, I definitely won't be keeping a physical diary, like a journal. Nah, that's too much. It's too much risk, too much exposure. I've got an app that's offline, and I need to figure out a way to lock it down, and then I'll use it. But yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, but yeah, I would highly recommend. I mean, I've recommended journaling to so many people,
Mm,
even just as a means of devotional,
yeah.
and stuff. Like it's been so helpful.
Mm,
Um, I've been trying to do it consistently. I think it's been like, yeah, since like lockdown, I've been doing it consistently.
mm.
Yeah,
So,
let me go into my thing right now, see where the last one was. 2016. Raw.
man said consistently.
Raw. Obviously, 2016 wasn't very consistent.
I mean, in your defense, when was the last time we were at church? Was it Sunday? You were journaling
Yeah,
during preachers, so as early as Sunday at the very least, which I'm sure
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
makes sense. But yeah, it's betrayal of tech.
I was trying to see when I started,
Oh,
not the
okay.
last
All
one I
right,
wrote.
right, right.
Yeah,
Fair, fair. Mm.
the last one I wrote was I was in it today.
Ah, there you go. Yeah,
So again, when we jump off
yeah.
context,
Fair, fair, fair. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I think it's been a dope episode. I think again, heavy
yeah,
hitters we delivered. When you sieve out the Roberts,
um,
you just get pure goodness. But yeah, now let's round up there.
Yes, sir.
Hookups. I've actually got. I can go first if you don't mind.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I've got a couple. So talking about journaling, Ruslan, I mentioned him earlier in the episode.
Hmm.
He's actually got a physical journal that he sells,
Okay.
a prayer journal about like writing your prayers, seeing God move, being having a record of that. But if you can't afford, I don't even if you can't afford, if you prefer, as opposed to the physical journal, he's also made a PDF version of it, so you can
Okay.
download that for free. Um, and since we talked about journaling, thought it's a useful hookup. So Ruslan's prayer journal, you can I'll drop the link in the description. And then my second hookup is one of the shows that I finished during my time nearly dying from COVID, um, which is Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. So the storytelling is really good on it. Like it's really really good, and
It's in my watch list,
yeah, it's a nice like sort of fresh take on the Ronin inspired by revenge at all costs
bro.
type thing.
Where's? Oh, I
Yeah,
can't.
there you go. Yeah. Blue Eye
Yeah,
Samurai.
fam.
Yeah. It's a really, really nice little story. It is, I would say it's a bit, yeah, 18 maybe.
I think
Um,
is it? Yeah, it's definitely
yeah,
18. It's
yeah,
rated 18.
there you go. So be warned, but it was a fun watch. So Blue Eye Samurai was my hookup as well.
Do you know, I've actually Netflix have just released quite a few animes.
Well, they better. They've increased the price, the idiots.
They've released quite a few new animes that I've added to my watch list.
Yeah.
But I can't hook any of them up because I haven't actually watched them.
Yeah. Which ones have you? Because I've watched a couple now. Blue Eye
I've
Samurai was the
There's
first one.
one Onimusha.
Onimusha's good. Yeah, I watched that one as well. I watched that one because it's Miyamoto Musashi, and I literally have a Miyamoto Musashi sword up here. So yeah,
Eh,
yeah,
I think there was. Where's my other ones?
there's
Yeah, I can't
Sergeant
find them.
Laserhawk or something that's next up to watch. But now that I'm feeling better, I probably
Captain
won't get to
Laserhawk,
watch it.
that's on it as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
on it as well. It almost looks like Rayman. The
yeah. Oh,
thing, the
there's
image on it.
Pluto as well.
Pluto, yes.
Yeah, which is based off of Mega Man, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
The My hookup is going to be an anime as well.
Mm.
I think the final episode of Attack on Titans dropped a
Yeah,
couple weeks ago.
yeah,
It's an hour and a half long.
yeah,
I need to go through it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell off Attack on Titan, but I've been keeping up like with summaries and stuff. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
quite
nah.
interesting.
They've There's literally like quarter of a year in between episodes now. But the
Nice.
episodes are all like an hour and a half long and the animation is just sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The argument's already being had if Attack on Titan is like number one anime of all time. The argument's been
All
had.
time,
Yeah,
raw.
all time. Just because of the twist and the time travel and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I can see it. I can
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
It
see it.
went from like typical shonen. Yeah. We're
And it just went
protagonist, plot
left.
armor, and then it's just like, wait, hold on, what?
It just went left.
I think best time skip ever. Like,
Bro. Like when the final season started, yeah, I was looking at this like, what's going on?
yeah, yeah,
And then the twist happened. I was like, yo,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool,
Attack on Titans and my thing.
cool. Well, yo, for those that have stuck with us till the end, thank you very much for joining us
Arigato.
tonight. Please let us know. I think one thing you get from us is we're both willing to learn, and I don't think we present as though we know any of the answers
Yeah.
really. So it'll be really good to hear back from you guys, especially on what we talked about, like with leadership, intervening, and truth
Standing up for
versus
truth. Yeah.
tolerance, all of these things I think will be really good. Do journal. I do think it's I can, even from the research I can tell this is going to be a useful thing. I just need to get past my own risk aversion
I
and
mean, you
stuff.
can journal about that.
Oh, there you go. There you go. How to get past writer's block? Write about it. Yeah. But yeah, no. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us on socials. I don't remember any of them. We don't really
Yeah.
check, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm only on Instagram for 15 minutes on my phone. I ain't got time. But yeah, no. Please do reach out. SoundCloud is probably easiest, or wherever you listen.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. YouTube, again, easy to just drop a comment there. And we will see it because we interact whenever we upload with those platforms at the very least.
Facts. Spotify as well. Do your thing.
Yeah,
Apparently, Spotify has classified us as comedy and storytelling.
which is
I'm like,
ridiculous.
what's
It's
comedy?
ridiculous. Are we
What's going
jokes to
on?
you? Are we jokes? Am I a joking? But yeah. Shout out to Robert, who is
Yes, sir.
chilling. And yeah, hopefully you'll see us in the next one. This is the Blacksmith Furnace signing out.